A frail-looking Ferdinand Marcos arrived today in sun-splashed Hawaii. The fallen Philippine dictator needed a helping shoulder to leave the plane. The island state is maybe the last stop in his journey into exile. Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting tonight from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The big American C-141 transport touched down at Hawaii's Hickam Air Force Base. The aircraft carried Marcos, his wife, and nearly 100 family members and staff. It was the last leg of a flight into exile that began yesterday in Manila and included a short stop in Guam. In our first report, Bill Redeker was there as the deposed president was given a traditional Hawaiian welcome.
He needed some help when he climbed off the American military plane that delivered him into exile. But the deposed Philippine president's first steps in this country were made without assistance. Marcos, who reportedly suffers from a degenerative kidney disease and may have had 2 transplant operations, was welcomed to Honolulu by his old friend, the governor of Hawaii, George Ariyoshi. Accompanied by his wife Imelda, family, and other supporters, the ousted ruler may accept the governor's invitation to live here.
If we are going to have allies, we need to be sure that we don't turn our backs on them when they need some assistance.
Although the governor welcomes Marcos and his family, many in the state's large Filipino community do not.
Ferdinand Marcos, a cheat, a fraud, a liar, a murderer, and a thief.
Should he settle down in Hawaii, the former president could live comfortably in this fashionable neighborhood above Honolulu. The Marcos family reportedly owns 2 homes here worth about $2 million. Marcos could also live on the mainland, but life there might be considerably more difficult, even though his family reportedly owns a lot of expensive real estate on the East Coast. Like this $19 million estate on Long Island, this $80 million shopping center in Manhattan, and this opulent New York townhouse filled with priceless art and antiques. Marcos denies owning much of this property, but the new Aquino administration is moving quickly, taking inventory, trying to reclaim what many believe was stolen.
These properties were purchased by the money of the Philippine people, and therefore they are the owners of these properties.
And there is a move on Capitol Hill to freeze Marcos' assets until it can be determined whether American aid was diverted to his personal use.
Let Mr. Marcos come forward and explain how on a $5,000 or $6,000 a year salary he generated $100 million worth of real estate in New York City.
No one is saying whether or even how long the former president will stay here. But by fleeing the problems of his own country, he may be unable to escape some new ones in this country. Bill Redeker, CBS News, Honolulu.
An odd bunch of lawyers, soldiers, politicians, and businessmen got together with a housewife today to start running a country. Members of the new cabinet became instant celebrities, cheered as if they were stars of the home team that had just won the big game. Supported by her fellow revolutionaries, Ramos of West Point and Enrile of Harvard Law, President Aquino said she will lead the nation from Malacanang Palace, but has no intention of moving in.
I would like to lead by example, and in these very difficult times, it is not fitting for the leader of an impoverished nation to live in extravagance.
Soldiers were combing those extravagant Marcos gardens for booby traps today, and they found some, presumably left behind by loyalists who left in a hurry. But the biggest Marcos booby trap may be the state of the nation he left behind, the desperate economy. But there was a new confidence here, too. The stock market closed higher today, and the business community went on the march, cheered by the knowledge that Marcos won't be around anymore to milk their profits.
We're free again!
Meanwhile, measures were being taken to prevent any more wealth from leaving the land. Police found 13 crates of brand new money inside a van heading for the port. And at the airport, it was the baggage of departing passengers that was searched.
This is the wealth of the people, which we must return to the people, because we need all of these resources to rebuild our country.
Ramos went on television to display weapons confiscated by his troops, weapons belonging to the warlords who had given Marcos so much support. Officers expressed confidence the army would now be better equipped to deal with the insurgents, that most guerrillas had wanted not communism but change, and change is what they got. One change, minor perhaps, but symbolic, there will be a lot less barbed wire in the new Philippines. It was being torn down everywhere today.
I can't believe it. It's incredible that it should happen this way, that in 4 days, all the sufferings of 14 years, 20 years could be unfolded in just 4 days.
Expectations are high, unrealistic perhaps, but if goodwill ever got anybody anywhere, there is reason for hope in the Philippines. And besides, the new government knows that Ferdinand Marcos is not a tough act to follow. Bob Simon, CBS News, Manila.
Many Filipinos greeted one another today with Happy New Year, New Year's Day for Cory Aquino and her government. But Catholic Cardinal Sin was holding an open-air Thanksgiving Mass for thousands of Filipinos who wanted to give thanks that Marcos is gone. The site of the Mass was symbolic, right between the two army bases where rebel officers, with help from the church, launched their revolt only 5 days ago. It is being called the worst crisis Egyptian President Mubarak has faced. A mutiny by thousands of security police that started in and around Cairo yesterday and spread to other Egyptian cities. A mutiny that turned into a rampage of violence. Officials say tonight, quote, scores of people were killed and hundreds wounded. Mubarak responded with force. Tanks and armored trucks traveled the roads near the Great Pyramid, where the rebellion began. Soldiers patrolled downtown Cairo and clashed with rioters. The usually bustling city resembled a ghost town today, with an indefinite curfew in effect, all to stop what began last night, a rampage of looting and arson by security police that gutted hotels, nightclubs, cars by the dozens. Hundreds of foreign tourists were evacuated safely. The rioters even attacked a big prison, freeing many inmates. Mubarak today blamed the violence on a, quote, deviationist minority of his security forces, conscripts who apparently believed their terms of service were being extended. At last word, Cairo was reported quiet for now. CBS News will broadcast live coverage of President Reagan's speech on defense spending and national security concerns tonight at 8 Eastern Time, and a broadcast featuring other views on those subjects this evening at 11:30, 10:30 Central.
At the Wall Street Journal, we believe that building a dream takes more than luck and hard work. It takes a vision of what tomorrow holds today. At the Journal, we've been giving people that vision for over 90 years. The Wall Street Journal, the daily diary of the American dream.
We asked 1,000 doctors if stranded on an island, which would they want? Tylenol, extra strength Tylenol, Advil, or Bayer? More doctors chose Bayer, nearly 2 to 1 over extra strength Tylenol. Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders.
Now there's an antacid that's ideal for us women, new calcitrel. It not only neutralizes more acid than Malox Plus or regular Mylanta, it gives us even more calcium than Tums. New calcitrel. It's the ideal antacid for women.
A verdict tonight in the court-martial of U.S. Navy Surgeon Donald Billig, the one-time chief of heart surgery at the renowned Bethesda Naval Hospital just outside Washington. He was found guilty tonight on 2 involuntary manslaughter counts and 1 count of negligent homicide in the deaths of patients on the operating table. Dr. Billig was found innocent in the deaths of 2 other patients. NASA officials were grilled closely today by the shuttle disaster investigating team. By day's end, Eric Ingberg reports, it was clear the investigators didn't like a lot of what they heard.
NASA spent a day on the carpet, its officials explaining why Challenger was launched, despite engineering objections that a key part might fail in the cold weather. One by one, commission members pointed to lapses in the chain of command, which had kept senior officials in the dark about the potential for disaster.
So I really think there's a serious communication and management problem.
If this were an airplane, an airliner, and I just had a 2-hour argument with Boeing on whether the wing was going to fall off or not, I think I'd tell the pilot.
I think all of us feel that there's been a breakdown of sorts in the process.
Why hadn't something bubbled up through the system that would indicate a more well-defined constraint on launch?
Larry Malloy, a line-level NASA manager in charge of rocket boosters, said he had challenged Morton Thiokol engineers who opposed a launch, but only because he did not agree with their engineering judgments.
I assure you, sir, that there was no reversal of the tradition of NASA, which says, prove to me why you can't fly, versus prove to me why you can.
The NASA officials said their comments against the original Thiokol recommendation to postpone a launch were not intended as pressure.
I can assure you, because I am absolutely certain, that no extraneous considerations such as schedule came into that decision process.
But commission members appeared increasingly disturbed that key NASA managers who approved the launch did not know that opposition to the launch was almost unanimous among Thiokol engineers most concerned about cold weather, and did not know that one Thiokol engineer had warned in a memo last year failure of the parts in question, O-ring seals between rocket segments, would be deadly. While NASA officials portrayed events leading up to the launch as a routine disagreement among engineers that raised no red flags in their minds, they were forced to acknowledge under close questioning that never before in the U.S. space program had a launch been approved over such strenuous objections from engineering experts. Eric Engberg, CBS News, Washington.
Acting NASA Chief William Graham told Congress today it may be the middle of next year before a shuttle flies again. The United States Supreme Court today ruled 8-1 that cities may impose rent controls. The justices rejected landlord claims that rent controls amount to a price-fixing conspiracy. A judge in Los Angeles today cited insufficient evidence and dismissed a grand jury indictment against California Republican Congressman Bobby Fiedler and her top aide, who is also now her fiancé.
Have you looked at Allstate homeowners insurance rates lately? Nope. They may be lower than you think. They are low.
Leave it to the good hands, people. Leave it to the good hands, people.
Bring your policy into Allstate and compare. See how low our rates really are.
Leave it to the good hands, people.
They're low.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
A member of the Sears Financial Network.
Some have it, some don't. Afrin doesn't have it, Dristan doesn't have it. Only Sinex has it for stuffy noses.
Ooh.
That quick feeling of relief from instantly penetrating Vicks vapors, plus a powerful decongestant that opens nasal passages so you breathe freely.
Ah, complete relief.
For hours and hours, Sinex has it for instant and complete relief in regular and 12-hour extra strength.
From Vicks, of course.
President Reagan's aides were busy today trying to put the most positive possible spin on Soviet leader Gorbachev's threat to put off the next summit meeting unless there's arms control progress first. White House spokesman Larry Speake said, and I quote, "That kind of linkage simply won't work," and said the two superpower chiefs can have a productive meeting with or without, he said, arms control progress. In Moscow, day 2 of the first Communist Party Congress with Gorbachev at the helm. Today's first foreign guest speaker, Soviet client, Cuba's Fidel Castro, putting his mouth where his money is, denouncing U.S. imperialism, as he put it. Beyond the rhetoric at the rostrum, Chief European Correspondent Tom Fenton tonight has a rare look at what Soviet officials don't want you to see. A Soviet economy often racked by corruption and red from rust. The first of a series of special reports looking behind party lines.
These are the images the authorities wanted CBS News to record when we left Moscow to visit a part of Russia most outsiders never see. The domes and spires of medieval Suzdal, as picturesque and unreal as a visit to colonial Williamsburg. And everywhere, there were watchers to control what we taped. But these are the images of provincial Russia the authorities have been showing their own people in preparation for the 27th Party Congress. Highly placed officials on trial for embezzlement and corruption. It's in places like Vladimir, on the road to Siberia, that Gorbachev faces the real problems.
Towns less favored than Moscow or Leningrad are having trouble coping with the demands and temptations of modern society.
This group of managers and state officials in Rostov made hundreds of thousands of rubles from sales of black market meat siphoned off from the state's inadequate food distribution system.
As a result of embezzlement, he pocketed 220,000 rubles.
Some were given long prison terms, 2 were sentenced to be shot. Rostov is not unique. This sort of thing can be found everywhere in Russia. The reason? The state's inability to supply the consumer goods the Soviet system has long promised. A wide variety of products and services are advertised on the Soviet version of television commercials, but they're hard to find in places like Vladimir, outside the big cities. Russians have neither credit cards nor checkbooks, but their pockets are stuffed with rubles just in case they find something worth buying. At the heart of the problems of the Soviet economy is backwardness and inefficiency. Primitive tractors are still being built in Vladimir at what is described as the best tractor factory in Russia. The antiquated machinery has been freshly painted for our camera, but paint cannot hide antiquated work methods. It's a show orchestrated by this plant official who motioned for the assembly line to slow down back to normal as we left. The Vladimir regional party boss proudly told us that the last 5-year plan has just been over-fulfilled. But he also admitted that what is produced is out of date and unreliable. And that's the dilemma of this party Congress. It will take more than a new 5-year plan and grandiose statistics to change a Russia where you can still see women washing clothes in a frozen stream with the temperature at 10 degrees below zero. Tom Fenton, CBS News, Vladimir.
New developments tonight on the case of the cyanide-laced Tylenol found in New York. The FBI said this evening that what appear to be previously undetected signs of tampering have now been found in 2 bottles of Tylenol, bottles that contain tainted capsules. A New York woman died after taking capsules from one of those bottles. And the medical examiner in Nashville said tonight that a man whose body was found Sunday did die from cyanide poisoning, poisoning that may or may not have been from a Tylenol capsule. As part of our continuing look at trouble on the land, tonight we'll show you a farm of the future, and the future is now, and 2 hard-working farm families, only one of them lucky. Those stories are next.
For tension, headache, pain, turn to Nuprin and get power over your pain.
7:30 roll call and already my head's splitting. Glad I got Nuprin. It's different. It's a non-prescription strength of the same medicine in Motrin tablets.
Nuprin's medicine has more power over headache pain than regular strengths of aspirin or Tylenol.
Nuprin stopped my headache fast and didn't upset my stomach.
But Sarge,
Nuprin from Bristol Myers. It's medicine with power over pain.
Well, at least one of them's gold.
How about some coffee? It's decaffeinated.
Half a cup's fine.
You drink decaf.
Sure, and when I find one that's got a full flavor, I'll have a full cup.
This one does.
Brim?
It's got full, rich flavor.
Now this is a find. Fill it to the rim.
With the full, rich taste of Brim decaffeinated coffee.
We began our week-long reporting from farm country in Beeville, Texas. Now we're in Corson, South Dakota. Except for the snow, this looks a lot like places I remember as a child. Lots of wind, long vistas, a few cows, a barn, a rugged farmer making it on his own hard work and lessons learned from his father growing up on the very same land. As David Dow reports, this scene may soon be a memory.
February in California's San Joaquin Valley. Hints of spring on a winter landscape. And Mike Machado is out in a wheat field, inspecting the family corporation.
Farming is a business. It's no different than the corner drugstore or the supermarket or any other business.
His immigrant grandparents, who first farmed this land, likely would have disagreed. But Machado, with his master's in economics, his business realism, probably represents the future of American agriculture. He is diversified and getting big. 1,000 acres and growing, with a constant eye to the financial harvest.
I think the farmer of the future is going to be more in tune to finance, more in tune to marketing.
The customer's needs and wants are constantly changing through time.
This is a marketing course in the University of California's College of Agriculture. It is so popular, some students are turned away.
The critical thing today is after you've produced this fine product, where do you find a home for it?
Increasingly, the answers will come from technology. Through a video information service, farm manager Ben Laverty can react to market trends from Bakersfield to Boston.
Meeting your needs today and in the future.
At a major farm equipment show, tractors take a back seat to computers.
I got 6 feed periods a day and 33%.
On his computer, Steve Lawrence maintains an entire dairy herd, the productivity, eating habits, and fertility of 1,600 cows.
As soon as a calf is born, we tag it and she enters a computer. When she dies or is sold, we delete her from the computer.
New pesticides, new crops, new fertilizers, all part of the future technology. Some think there is also a future for the technology that Tom and Steve Pavich use in their large grape operation. It is complex organic technology, featuring fewer chemicals, lower costs.
So we're expanding and growing at a time when there are companies that are going out of business left and right.
The Pavich brothers concede they would abandon their methods if they were not profitable, and thus they too belong to a future that increasingly sees farming as just another business, that views springtime as an opportunity for the best businessman. David Dow, CBS News, Ventura County, California.
Underlining just how good a businessman every farmer is going to have to be, the U.S. Department of Agriculture reports today that U.S. farm exports declined more than 300% last year. And despite the most recent legislation, prospects this year are no better. Even being a farm businessman all ready for the future doesn't guarantee success. Luck and timing can count for even more. I'll look at that when we come back.
This cough medicine lasted about 4 hours. Not long enough. And this cough medicine lasted about 6 hours. Not long enough.
But this cough medicine...
What's this cough medicine?
Introducing 12-Hour Delsum. Only Delsum has a patented timed-release formula that lasts up to 12 hours for hours more relief than regular cough medicines. Each dose helps you work all day and sleep all night.
Now that's long enough.
12-hour timed-release Delsum for hours more cough relief.
Heading out across America, spreading the word near and far. Working together every race, daring the weather every place. We deliver the mail for America till the last letter is gone. Delivering for America, no matter what, we carry on.
The National Association of Letter Carriers, delivering for America.
Tales of heartburn from Gaviscon antacid. Once a man ate all of Italy.
Pasta with tomato sauce and garlic.
In one night.
And the garlic.
And the only thing that may seem worse than daytime heartburn...
Heartburn.
...is nighttime heartburn. Fortunately, there was Gaviscon, specially formulated so it not only gives fast relief during the day, it even works at night when you're lying down. Gaviscon antacid, it even works lying down.
Part of what makes this farm crisis so cruel is that there is truly no way to share the burden. This is a plague that strikes one house and skips the next. Frank Courier has our tale of two families.
A winter sunrise on the Iowa prairie. An after-school scrimmage on the home court.
Holy, 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 holy.
A children's choir in a country church. Reassuring images of rural life amidst the worst farm crisis since the Depression. For farmers like Cedric and Marilyn Winterbore of Everly, Iowa, they are images of health and prosperity, a family dream realized.
You work together, you play together, you spend a lot more time together than you do in most other occupations.
But for neighbors Kathy and Marlon Langner, exhausted and frustrated by farm debts, the images and the family dream are threatened.
That's what I believed in, that the harder you work, the more you're going to have.
Yeah. And if you work 24 hours a day, it paid off,
Yeah.
you know. And we taught the kids that, you know. We're finding out that's not true.
The truth is, for every farmer near bankruptcy, there's another who's succeeding. At 34, Cedric Winterbore credits much of his good fortune as a fourth-generation family farmer to luck. After marriage, he joined his father on a 1,500-acre crop and cattle farm bought at pre-inflation prices.
The guy in bankruptcy can have worked just as hard and done just as many right things, but if he didn't happen to be in the right place at the right time, through no fault of his own, he can end up on the short end of the deal.
That's what happened to the Langners.
I think anybody around here would say Marlon and Kathy Langner are the best damn farmers in Clay County.
They are as proud as they are close. In their 22 years together, the Langners have raised corn, livestock, and 3 boys. Though even in good times, farming was just break even.
All 3 of the boys.
You know, I never cared about getting rich. You know, if we could have this for a way of life was what I wanted.
4 years ago, the banks encouraged Marlin to borrow and expand.
And 2 years later, the bank says you made a wrong decision, but they helped me make that decision at that time.
I think neither one of us dreamed it would get as bad as it is now. I didn't.
Indeed, the bank says now no money for spring planting. That's no surprise to their youngest boys, Keith, a high school sophomore, Chris, a senior. Both have struggled alongside their parents.
It kind of scares me because I see my folks, you know, what they're going through, and it kind of scares me to even think about farming sometimes.
The Winterbores share a close and spiritual feeling for their farm neighbors who are suffering, but not without some distance.
We care very deeply for people in that state, and we can't say we know how they're feeling because we don't.
Cedric and Marilyn hold fast to a dream that one day they may pass along to children Chad and Charity, a 5th generation of farming. A dream shared by the Langner family, but now fading in this long winter of doubts.
We'd always preach to the kids, if you had a dream, you go for it, and you don't let your dream die. My dream's dying. That's scary.
We plan to be doing our broadcast all this week from farm country, trying to listen and learn, report and understand and help you understand the problems and the future of the American family farm. For CBS News, Dan Rather reporting tonight from Corson, South Dakota. Good night.
Chicken. It's light, lean. Now Tyson introduces chicken like you never had chicken before.
Chicken?
Exotic new Tyson Chicken Oriental with crisp snow peas.
Ooh.
Romantic chicken francais with green beans almondine.
Hey.
Exciting Tyson Chicken Fiesta with Spanish rice.
May I?
Taste Tyson's grand new chicken entrees.
Sensational.
Chicken like you never had chicken before.
I'd like to talk to you about your breakfast and your health and new Fiber One. By now you've heard how important fiber is in your diet. That's where high-fiber Fiber One comes in, because a high-fiber, low-fat diet may reduce the risk of some kinds of cancer. High-fiber Fiber One, the one for fiber. It's healthy, it's smart, it's the one for me. Now make Fiber One the one for you. Try a box free. For a short time only, look for this healthy offer on specially marked boxes.
Coffee should please all the senses. To the eye, it should appear rich, not thin. The aroma should capture the taste, intense, as in this dark-roasted Nescafe Brava, smooth, subtle, as in this Nescafe Silka. And the taste, that's why only Nescafe custom blends 4 distinctive coffees.
Ultimately, taste is in the eye, nose, and palate of the beholder.
Nescafe, taste your way.
I'm Maria Shriver. The Russian-American battle for the pole vaulting record, and Oscar nominee Geraldine Page, tomorrow on the CBS Morning News.
This is CBS.